table, and when I'm in my operating position, my head is right equally between them, so that the sound is reinforced, and that ends up being just about as good as headphones. But of course, nothing is as good as headphones. And the reason for that, I'm sure you've noticed by now, when you're trying to get that weak signal, you put the headphones on, and it's like another world. It becomes singularly easier. It's very noticeable. And the reason for that, again, are these things that are sort of unnoticeable. They're unnoticeable because you don't notice what you're not hearing. It's sort of a way of putting it. And there's dispersion and diffusion. Again, those two D words. This dispersion means sometimes there's a difference in the rate that different pitches get into your brain that have to do with the environment around. Something's getting echoed or reinforced, or the opposite of that, some part of the room is ringing and taking energy away from the frequency that's vital to you comprehending that intelligence that we were talking about earlier. So as far as having a high fidelity speaker, it's just a bigger box that you're putting a smaller package in when you're talking about the output of a shortwave receiver. It's far narrower bandwidth than that speaker is capable. I mean, the speaker is capable of a great deal more.
Test 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4.
So when the sound is interacting with things in the environment, so by not having things too loud so that it's able to interact and echo, that's helpful. Not having background noises is probably even more helpful. But again, nothing beats headphones, and it all comes back to that same thing that, again, is sort of intangible and difficult to describe until you notice the difference between doing those two different things. But I would, again, I'm not going to look up the website and quote it to you, but know what you're dealing with when you read these things, because it is deceptive. I found it deceptive where these things are all labeled dBU, and I'm thinking, no way. You know, these are dB over 1 micro. That's what our receivers are. You know, the small, tiny little snowflake power of the signal coming in from somebody 100 miles away running 100 watts. How much actual power is hitting your receiver? Well, that's the dB with respect to 1 microwatt. So it's actually it's literally a power reference, and for an S9 is called minus 73 dBm, which is dB below 1 milliwatt. So that's with a radio. That's a 50-ohm radio. You can convert the watts into voltages, and that's the way those base signals are based. But again, all the audio signals we're talking about here are referenced to generally 1 volt RMS, and then that's the dB number, and the U means unloaded, which is, again, amorphous to my mind, but that's audio equipment. You're talking with people who are, you know, in bands and radio stations and mixing records. They don't care what the hell it means. They just know their how to set the band, how to adjust things so they sound right, and that's what the trick to it all is. And always, and to learn about things like compression and some of these other terms that we're talking about, one of the most useful tools I have found in my whole life of really, really getting to the nitty-gritty of what these different configurations, when you're setting up a compressor, for example, you've got a threshold, you've got a ratio, you've got a noise floor, and you've got a gain pump. Is it peak sensitive? There are a lot of things that are based on some things that maybe we want to learn about, maybe we don't. But one thing that is helpful is to see the waveform before and after you apply an effect to it, and to hear the differences as well in terms of what you do and what the effect is. Like, for example, when I compress something too much, it actually does reduce the effective bandwidth of it. So I think Kevin noticed that once. Anyway, that's all the stuff I can come up with off the top of my head. Back to you, Kevin, VE3RCA AAAKB.
I hope your radio's not overheating.
How long was that?
10 minutes.
Well, the amplifier might be overheating anyway. Alpha Alpha 8 Kilo Bravo from VA3RCA with the 3640 net. You know, a few things that you said in there sort of made an impact on me, Mike. You know, I do worry as I get older, my hearing is not as good as it used to, and I have my father's hearing as he got older for reference to what mine could become. And your statement about nothing is as good as headphones sort of rang true with me, and I underlined it. Your discussion about dispersion and diffusion was kind of interesting as sort of the backstory for all that. Very interesting. Anybody got any comments for Mike? Come with your call.
Papa Charlie Papa.
Okay, very good. Do you have a specific comment there, Rob? Go ahead.
Yeah, a little bit, Kevin. As you know, I operate my equipment through remote interface and through the computer and so forth, so I can pretty much hear a flea fart at about 100 yards because of the audio sensitivity and so forth. But also, I am currently live streaming, and on the screen in the live stream, I have a frequency spectrum analyzer running there. So, of course, that will be recorded, and you'll be able to go back and look at that after. But it shows it's not a very good one. It was just an online one that I pulled up quickly, so it kind of gives you an idea of the spectrum of people's voices through the as heard through the radio. V3PCP.
Yeah, okay, VE3PCP from VA3RCA. I've got you on my list here, and I don't know if you know, I mean, this topic has been morphing throughout the last hour and more. The conversation got started tonight about audio, receive audio, and the filtering that could go in line, right? Whether that's an equalizer or some sort of digital signal processing. Some people have talked about accessory speakers and all of that kind of thing. Anyway, I've got you on my list here, Rob, if you'd like me to pick you up, and appreciate your comments.
Yeah, sure. As long as it's before midnight, I'll be here.
Okay, sounds good. Any other comments for Alpha Alpha 8 Kilo Bravo? Come now.
Oh, I left one thing out real quick.
Yeah, okay, real quick. Go ahead, Mike.
On my input and output, they go through boards. That makes everything so easy for me to work with. That's all I have to say. And each board has a little equalizer on it. So I don't have to go into some crazy menu when somebody who comes on whose audio sounds like screaming out of control. I can just reach over and turn the treble or the mid down and turn the bass up or adjust the volume, just make it sound right by just reaching over to another piece of equipment. So there's something to be said for not having to screw around with knobs on this little radio. Back to you.
No, actually, I think that's a really good point, because what I'm starting to take away from this discussion is that audio tailoring is situational, and that if it's buried somewhere downwind of a radio, menu option somewhere, and those menu options clear every time you push PTT, then bringing it out to some boards might make some sense, Mike.
Oh, I have it no other way. Plus, I can mix things in. I can have other receivers or two receivers at once, and I can mix things into the transmit. If I want to pipe in some audio from the computer, I can do that in a snap.
Okay, very good. I've got a bunch of people waiting, so let me clear with you unless you got anything urgent, and I'll come back to you in a minute. Thank you for your comments, Mike. Okay, clear with Alpha Alpha 8 Kilo Bravo, and let's go get Mark, VE3LU. Any thoughts?
No, thanks for letting me jump in earlier, Kevin. Appreciate that. And no, we're just listening along at this stage, Kevin, and thanks for doing the net.
Okay, sounds good, Mark. Drop your call if you'd like to comment. clear with VE3LU, and let's move on to VE3VKR. Come on in, Dan.
Yeah, good afternoon, Kevin. V3VKR, good group, I guess. The only thing I wanted to add was Mike. You know, he said he can't hear highs and lows, and he has the Motorola speaker. I think I got a few around here, and he can't hear the difference. I just wonder someday if Mike's still listening, that let Linda listen, see if she can hear it, because I'm kind of curious.
Actually, it didn't make a whole pile of difference with me either, and I don't need hearing aids like Mike does, but I think the Motorola speakers are definitely doing their job.
Yeah, okay, well, very good, and we all kind of discussed that it's fairly narrow, so okay, well, that was my question there, Kevin.
Okay, sounds good. Any other thoughts, or I'll come back and pick you up and drop a call if you want to jump in.
Yeah, QSL, I'm just going to listen along or listen out. Thanks a lot, Kev. V3VKR.
Comment?
Sounds good, Dan. VA3AZH with a comment. Go.
Yeah, I just popped up PCP's site, which is actually under Victor Echo 3 India Hotel Romeo remote, and he's got the audio response curves out live, and it is really cool to watch these response curves. Now, there is a delay in it, but it really shows you how the intensity of all of the various point frequencies or harmonics, as it would, that occur in the resonant cavity of the filament in your on your voice. So very worthwhile if anybody's out there to pull up the website YouTube, because it's live and you can see yourself talking and everybody else. Back to you, Kevin.
Yeah, okay, and I just loaded YouTube so that I could see that Rob has the VE3IHR remote available, and the YouTube account, I believe, is Rob's VE3PCP is the thing you should search for to quickly and easily find that link. Rob, will you leave that up there after the live session is over? Can I go back later and check it out?
Yeah, the DVR is set, Kevin, so it records as it's streaming, so it's available afterwards as well. V3PCP.
Okay, very good, because I can't really check it out while I'm live doing the net, but I will pick up on that later on. Anything further from VA3AZH? Go ahead, Mark.
Just a comment on when you look at your frequency response on this. Of all of the people talking, you seem to have the most energy across the whole bandwidth of your transmission, and that's pretty cool.
Well, that is pretty cool and good to hear, and the credit for that belongs to Dan, V3VKR, who set up my audio.
Well, thank you for him, and thanks for PCP for putting up this live remote. It's really cool.
Yeah, very good. Thanks for doing that, Rob.
Yeah, no problem. It's what I do.
Okay, very good. So I am clear with V3VKR, and I have a number on my list, and then I will put out a call for additional check-ins. I still have V3KWD, V3OZW, and V3PCP on my list. Let's go to V3KWD. Lloyd, any comments?
Not a lot. I just still working away, so I had to run off to the store for the delay. No, I think it's very interesting. As I think everybody's got a different ear, and there's going to be a different setting for everybody.
Okay, very good, Lloyd. Please break in if you wish to add your comments. I'm clear now with V3KWD, Lloyd in Alliston, and let's go to Richard, V3OZW. How you doing today, Richard?
Hey, good afternoon, Kevin, and everybody else on the net. I'm doing quite well. How are you?
I'm doing great. How did your shift go on TARS?
It was excellent, actually. Lots of good check-ins, a couple of new people, and I was busy for the entire hour, so that's There's been a few hours I've been on at that time, and it's been pretty quiet. So it was busy throughout the whole hour. So it was quite fabulous.
Hey, fantastic. Are you familiar with our topic tonight, and have you got any thoughts to share?
Yeah, I'm familiar with it. I don't have too many thoughts to share on it. Already pretty much everything's been discussed. As you know, I'm running an ICOM 7300 here. Now, and on my receive, I just went and looked at where I have it set because I set it and I don't really touch it. But on my receive, I have my base set at 0, and my transmit set at, my treble set at +2. That's kind of where my ears tend to like it. Now, I do run a ScanSonic powered, it's an iPod dock actually, but that's my external speaker, and it works really well. I like it. It gives me excellent sound for what it's worth, and but most of the time I'm running my Heil headset on here too, so through the earphones. I don't know if we're talking transmit or not, but on the transmit I've got it set at my bass is at 1, and then my treble's at +3. I'll play with that depending on if I'm chasing DX or not, or just talking locally. And there was some chat earlier about the filters there for sharp and soft, and I normally have mine set to soft, but I will adjust it for sharp if I'm doing some DX chasing or just whatever, trying to look for that signal off in the weeds. Other than that, I don't have a whole lot more to add, Kevin.
Okay, very good. Well, one thing I took away from that is the way you've got your receive equalizer set is exactly the same as the way I found an advantage with setting mine. I had never adjusted the receiver equalizer in this radio, and the other day I was really impressed to discover that just adding +2 on the treble really added to the intelligibility of the way that I had the rest of the radio set up. So it sounds like you went for the same number there, and of course that's going to change based on the mode, etc. And unfortunately the radio breaks it out that way, but yeah, sounds like we're set up exactly the same way, Richard.
Yeah, QSL. Yeah, and I think for AM I have it set at 1 and 1 for the bass and the treble, and FM I think is I think my bass is 0 and my treble's +1, something like that. So it's not too far off a flat, but that's the way my ears seem to like it, so it seems to work. And as long as you can, it's nice having the headset on. It makes it sound a little bit. It pulls the sounds out a little bit better, and you're able to kind of just hear some of those distant stations through the headphones that you wouldn't be able to hear through the speaker. So I will have the two running, and I have a little switch on the side of my 7300 here that I put in, that I just wired into all my, in with the plugs, and I just switch between the ScanSonic iPod dock to my headset whenever, and the receive settings seem to be, they seem to be okay for both settings, and it works for me.
If I was to boil this net down to what I think my simplest form of takeaway is that there are many different, in a modern radio, there are many different settings available to you to custom tailor the way your receiver is working. Learn about them all, play with them all, experiment, and you're bound to learn some things from that. I guess that's where I'm sort of ending up. And I guess what the impetus for tonight's topic was that I realized that I hadn't done enough playing, and I was listening to a radio that was not optimally tuned for my hearing. So, yeah, that's my takeaway, Richard.
There you go. The one thing I do when I bought the 7300 was, you can read through the ICOM manual, and it tells you, how to, all the settings and what they do and things, but it doesn't give you kind of a it doesn't give you what you want to hear. It's like reading I don't know what it's like reading a clinical manual versus just kind of a Cole's notes. What do I want to know? What's a good setting? What do other people use? Things like that. So I went and grabbed a book on Amazon that a guy, I think he's from New Zealand. He's written a few of them for a number of different radios, and I grabbed it. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. It is behind me there on the shelf. But I read through that book, and as I was reading through it, I was adjusting all of my settings as I was reading through it, and it helped me set the radio up properly to the point where I was happy with it, and it also gave you the knowledge to know of, hey, what happens when you long press that soft button, and what happens when you long press, you go in through these menus. So it was very helpful at the time. I haven't looked at it. I'll pull it out every now and then to look at it, but it's what I do when I get something new. I'll grab the book and we'll start reading through it just to understand what everything does.
Okay, because I remember talking with you about this once before, is the book The Radio Today Guide to the ICOM 7300?
That's the one, yep. It's I think it's only about 97 pages or something like that. It's a fairly easy read, and the guy that wrote it will actually give some suggestions on what he uses or what others will use for various settings, but describes all the settings and how best to set them up.
Okay, very good. And that book, once again, I'll repeat the title of The Radio Today Guide to the ICOM IC 7300, and the author's name is Andrew Barron, and I see he also has put out an edition of his book for the IC 705 and also for the IC 9700, which is kind of interesting. And that book is a paperback available for next day delivery. Oh no, not next day delivery, but available from Amazon for $19.70. So, and you found that very helpful, eh? He sort of distills some of the manual stuff.
Yeah, I did, and when I got the 7300, I was a fairly new ham, and a lot of those settings can be, are kind of daunting. You're still learning. I'm still learning, but at a point when you're learning by drinking water through a fire hose, it's kind of nice to be able to sit down with a book like that and just read through it and kind of understand what everything does. So I found it helpful when I first bought the 7300. Now I leave it on the shelf, and if somebody asks me something, or if I'm trying to think about where a setting is in there that I'm not quite sure, or whatever, I'll go look it up. I haven't picked it up for a long time. I must admit, it's been probably a year or more. But I found it helpful to help other hams that have a 7300 and they're not sure how to get the settings inside the radio. I can actually pull out that book and take a picture or send it or something like that. But I might be getting off topic, but there you go.
No, hey, very good. It's important to talk about anything that sort of helped you in getting to the best use of your radio. So hey, very good. Anything else, Richard?
Nope. I think that's all for me. I'll listen along for a bit. My wife just brought me down some biscuits here, so I'll munch away on biscuits and listen to the rest of the net. Take it away, Kevin. Thanks for picking me up. V3OZW.
Yeah, hey, I'm glad you could come down and join us after your shift. Thanks for jumping in, and please enjoy those cookies, Richard.
7-3.
Okay, clear for now with V3OZW. I've got one more on my list, and then I will put out a call if there's anybody who's listening along and would like to join us. VE3PCP, Rob, would you like to share any thoughts?
Yeah, sure, Kevin. Well, as I was saying, I operate my stations using remote hams, whether I'm sitting in the station or whether I am out and about in my vehicle. So I guess my perspective is a little bit different. I do have I have access to several different brands of radios using remote hams. Mine is a Kenwood TS850, and I have access to Signal Hill, which is an ICOM 7610, and a friend of mine in Florida has an IC 7300. And consistently I notice that the Kenwood has a broader spectrum of audio than the ICOMs do, and some of that I'm sure is probably just in the particular setup of the radios. On my particular station here, I have an inline graphic equalizer on the computer, so that's in the audio chain between the remote software and the radio, both for receive and transmit. So, you know, I've been able to adjust the audio spectrum to where I like it, and I get generally pretty good reports over the air. One thing I do notice though is that I check into a 2-meter net every week, and hardly weeks go by that someone comments on my audio, and I just kind of take it with a grain of salt because they're listening on typically on a VHF mobile rig with about a 2-inch speaker in it. So the you know, the audio is a subjective and personal thing, I think. I think adjusting it to what sounds best for you is probably the best way that you're going to go. So, you know, I guess that's at least from my perspective. Anyway, Kevin, back to you. VA3RCA, V3PCP.
Yeah, V3PCP from VA3RCA with the 3640 net. Yeah, I think you've got it. You've hit it on the head there with subjective and personal. But I guess so. So my takeaway from this evening is if there are various different options available to you to custom tailor what you're receiving, don't assume that you're hearing what's best for you until you've experimented with those options and found the right settings for you. Because as I say, I discovered that I really didn't have it set up the best, and like the changes that I've made. So yeah, very good, Rob. Thanks for joining us tonight. Any other comments before I move along?
Well, you know, Kevin, nobody knows what you're hearing except for yourself. So, you know, because of the way I operate the radios at home here on my computer, I have you know, a nice speaker set up on it. It's a powered or an amplified speaker setup with you know, tweeters and full range speakers and a subwoofer. So as I was saying earlier, I can hear a flea fart at about 100 yards. And when I'm connected to the Bluetooth in my truck, the audio comes through the car stereo. So again, it's you know, I get full range audio, so I get the benefit of hearing you know, pretty broad range of audio through the remote station. So. And I think you'll probably find that when you've listened to the live streams I've done or the recordings. So, you know, if you are listening to that on YouTube on your computer and you got a decent set of speakers, then you're hearing what I'm hearing through the station here. So, and if you go into my YouTube channel and you look up the from December the 12th, the live stream from Signal Hill VO1AA, that's an ICOM 7610 that we're listening to. It was recorded or live streamed through my computer here at home, but it was the access was through the remote at Signal Hill, so you can, you know, maybe you can just shuttle back and forth and hear the difference in the audio. So, but again, audio is personal and subjective, and whatever sounds good to you is all that really matters. V3PCP.
Yeah, exactly. Or at least what brings you the most intelligence or the easiest to listen to. You know, listening, if it's not set up properly, can become tiring. So all of that. Thanks for your comments, Rob. Much appreciated, and thank you for doing the live stream as well. That's also very welcome. So good to work you tonight, Rob.
Yeah, no problem, Kevin. And speaking of live streams, next Sunday, from 10 a.m. until noon, we'll be doing our first YL remote operation of 2023. And I will have Ava, Hotel Bravo 9, Fox Papa Mike on the remote with me. There may be others join, I'm not quite sure yet, but that's still in the works, but that's for sure. So we'll start off probably in 80 meters and give some of the folks in Ontario and more regionally a chance to talk with her. Eva is she's the lady that organized the the big YL event in the Czech Republic in 2019. And if you look up Oscar Lima 88 YL, that's the call sign they used. And so Raisa was part of that, and one of the other YLs in our group was part of that as well, Dora Hotel Bravo 9 Echo Papa Echo. And they're having another one this August in Poland, so I think that's Sierra Papa 88 YL. So she's pretty active in ham radio, so hopefully we have a good couple hours on the air. Back to you, VA3RCA, V3PCP.
Yeah, V3PCP from VA3RCA. I will check it out. And for anybody who's listening along, if you want to find Rob's channel on YouTube, all you have to do is quickly search for VE3PCP, Papa Charlie Papa, and you'll find his channel, and you can follow along. I'm a subscriber, and good to work you today, Rob. Thanks for your comments. V3PCP from VA3RCA, 7-3 for now.
Yeah, okay, Kevin, very good. And yeah, you did show up on the live stream on Signal Hill, so you can go back and listen to yourself. Hi. Anyways, thanks, Kevin. 7-3, V3PCP.
7-3, Rob. Clear with V3PCP. This is the 3640 net. I've reached the end of my list. Is there anybody that we've missed? Anybody who'd like to check in? Come with your call now.
Victor Alpha 3, Foxtrot Lima, November.
Yeah, Victor Alpha 3, Fox Lima November from VA3RCA. Come on in.
Good day, VA3RCA. This is VA3FLN Frank in downtown Toronto. I just wanted to let you know I was on Entourage earlier, and Richard, who is this Victor Echo 3 Oscar Zulu Whiskey, suggested that the TechNet was on. I just was playing around with an experiment 80-meter antenna today, so I was checking things out. But anyhow, I hope I'll be able to check into this net more often and follow it from the beginning. It sounds like a very interesting net, and I hope everyone's keeping well.
Yeah, hey, good to work you today, Frank, and you've got a good signal here. I'm in Alliston, Ontario. Whatever you're doing with your antenna, it seems to be working quite well. What kind of antenna is it? Describe it for me.
Yeah, so we started off with, I have an Alpha Delta dipole. It's a shortened 40-20-meter and other band dipole. And someone on QR on eham.net suggested that by adding a few little feet of wire to the end, that he was able to get it resonant on the upper part of the 75-meter band, as well as still resonant on 40. So I gave it a try to try and be a little lower down. So it's actually resonant for like the area between the sandbox net and Entourage. And definitely was getting better received there. And so I was really curious to see whether or not it would work down here, because I'm probably like a 7 or 8 to 1 SWR on this part of the band. It's a very narrow banded thing, but it sounds like you guys are coming in really strong, and it sounds like you're catching me okay as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think the band is in pretty good shape right now, Frank. Your signal report here is 10 dB over 9. You're way up and above the noise, so considering that it's a compromised antenna, Frank, it's working very well.
Yeah, just so, and I just wanted to give it a try because there's so much activity on the 80-meter bands locally, and I thought, well, it's easy to set up and take down. I just sort of clip it to the ends of an inverted D that I can quickly raise and lower, and so maybe next weekend I'll try to see if I can get something that's resonant on the other parts of the band, and maybe it's 75 meters at the other end. But I think this week I'm going to give it a try, just check into some of the nets in the morning and the evenings, and then maybe later on play with the higher frequencies that are doing pretty good right now. And yeah, it looks like you guys are talking about some really interesting subject matter. I came a little too late to really follow along too much today, but definitely I'm looking forward on Sundays when I'm in. I'll definitely try and check in and hopefully be able to add to the discussion. It's kind of nice. I definitely nothing against quick check-in nets. I use them all the time, but it's nice to have something that has a little more discussion to it, just for a bit of a change.
Yeah, hey, sounds good. Well, I'm glad that you found us today, Frank, and I hope you come back. If you'd like to get advance notice of the topic we're discussing, just send me an email at VA3RCA@gmail.com, and I'll add you to our mailing list, and you'll get advance warning of the topic we're discussing. And I'm also a controller on TARS, Frank, so maybe I'll run into you over there.
Okay, perfect. And sorry, I didn't catch your name. Your name again?
Yeah, so the name is Kevin. And the call is VA3RCA.
Okay, Kevin. Yeah, I know I had the call sign, but great. Anyhow, looking forward to checking in more often. But in the meantime, I don't want to hog it too long because it's been a long nest, and I'm just sort of not exactly on topic. But anyhow, it sounds like you guys are doing a great job there, and looking forward to getting more familiar, more acquainted in the future.
Yeah. Hey, glad you got an antenna going for 80 meters, and good to work you today. Good signal, Frank. And look forward to chatting with you again. VA3FLN from VA3RCA 73.
73 Golf.
Okay, with that, anyone else for the 3640 net before I close it? Anybody else or any 7-3 rounds or additional comments from those already checked in? I'm listening for your call.
Yeah, Frank sounded good here in Wheatley, too, VE3WGW.
Yeah, Frank was S8 here in Mildmay.
Where was he?
Frank, his call is VA3FLN. He's somewhere in Toronto, I believe.
QSO, that's right. Downtown Toronto, just a little bit east of High Park.
10/9 here in Tiverton.
Yeah, 5-7. 5-7 on the other side of Michigan.
Okay, well, thanks a lot, fellas. Glad to hear it's working. I'll probably play with a couple different lengths, maybe even try to get resonant on this frequency if I check it more often. And, yeah, it's just a simple clip-on thing that I could take off and then take off. And eventually I'll see if I can keep everything resonant on the other bands. That'll be perfect. But really helps in a very small backyard. Thanks, everyone, and have a great week.
Yeah, hey, well done there, Frank. It's not easy. We don't hear a lot of Toronto stations simply because, there's not a lot of room for antennas, right? So well done, Frank.
Okay, thanks. Well, hopefully I'll keep it up and looking forward to chatting more again.
Okay, sounds good. 7-3 for now, Frank. Great to meet you. Anyone else for the 3640 net? This is VA3RCA. Last call.
I did have one quick comment, Kevin.
Yeah, let's end it with that. Go ahead, Mike.
I'm a little uncomfortable with your you're suggesting that those numbers need to be made your own. I think that this is my philosophy, and it's held true most of the time. The people that build receivers or transceivers, for example, they do that all the time. And they set those numbers in the middle based on a judgment of they're trying to produce a 1-to-1 ratio across the frequency band as per specification. So you see what I'm saying? That, they're engineers who make those radios, you're not. So what's going on is you're introducing to that radio a piece of equipment that may in fact be causing the lack of treble reproduction that you prefer or you suspect or you need. It may in fact be even less than the radio. It may be out of ratio. It may be that it's somewhat that the EQ on that, either the speaker or the amp, or altogether the speaker amp combination is what's skewing things a bit for you. So that would be my first thought, my first assumption. That would be okay. Well, maybe I just need to up the treble input on the amplifier I'm listening to.
Yeah, I think I understand what you're saying, that good science is good science, but my ears worked much better at 16 years old than they're working today. I don't believe that my frequency response curve of my head is what it used to be, Mike.
Yeah, And really what it probably boils down to even most is, what did you say, a Marshall speaker? How big is it? If it's a speaker that's 8 inches across or something, yeah, that's not going to have the response at the high end. It may well be that speaker's designed to be used with other speakers. All right, that's all I have to say.
Yeah, no, it's a very wide-range speaker, covers the whole musical spectrum, so it's totally a superset of what we're trying to do with communications, but I don't see that as really, having a superset is not a problem because I can still tailor it within that superset. Anyway, thanks for your participation tonight, Mike, much appreciated.
Oh, thank you. I agree with your last comment, too. Go ahead.
Sounds good. Okay, last call.
Hey,
I'll just say one more time. VA3RCA for the 3640 net. Okay, nothing heard. Thank you to everyone who joined us tonight on the 3640 net. As I mentioned a few minutes ago, if you're not on my mailing list already and you'd like to hear about the topic coming for the next week, then please just send me an email, VA3RCA@gmail.com. I'll add you to our mailing list. The net is now closed. Thanks to everyone who joined us. 7-3, I'll be on Tires tomorrow at 9 a.m. and look forward to talking to you there. VA3RCA.